Then it's time to go back here and work on the body, okay? And I recommend you go to a little bit wider brush for that, and probably the number 6 or number 4 bristle brush would be appropriate. And notice this is a sort of a pale yellow shirt, but the shadow takes on a different color. It's not as yellow as you think. So when you come down here and mix this, take your gesso, take a little yellow to start with, and a little purple. So it's yellow and purple. And the gesso. That's what you want to underpaint with, okay? Now, you can change the color if you want to suit your own personality, your own ideas. Like if you want to throw a little more yellow, a little more orange in it, or some orange in it. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now. I like the idea of having a little orange in it, as long as it's not a pure color and it's a little on the gray side. So all you do is just take some brush strokes down, you just kind of begin blocking in his form. We're not after a tremendous amount of detail work here yet. It's still just brush strokes. And then he's got the different, the little stripes on his shirt there. The green, there's a green stripe, then a big wide blue one, and then a green one. So, and those are colors you can adjust too. So, whatever tickles your fancy right here is what this will be all about for you. Okay, so there's his basic body. Notice it's got a slight twist to it, a little angle. You want to be sure your sketch is fairly accurate, folks. Okay. Pull that up just a little bit there. See the shoulder, it comes up in here a little bit further than most of us realize. Now see, I'm being a little more careful with my stroke because you don't want to make him misshapen. You don't want to end up with a stroke where it shouldn't be. Okay. Now while that's still wet, I take a little purple and add to that mixture, darken it just a little bit. And I go ahead and I dry brush in quickly, or I call it dry brush, but it's just a quick stroke of suggestions where there might be shadows later. See how I'm just brushing? Big wide brush strokes. I'm leaving a little bit of that lighter color in there. These are those sort of impressionistic strokes that we've talked about here. And the purple is absolutely necessary if you want this to be like you want it to be. Okay. Now that very right inside there, you can take a little sienna and add to the purple, maybe a little blue. You can just make this a little bit darker right on the very inside right there. It's always going to be a little darker right in that area. And then little by little he starts developing. And then we'll highlight the hair and the face, and the next thing you know, you've got a little boy. Now the sleeve out here can be done a similar way, but because it's different colors, you're just going to have to decide what you're going to use. I'd kind of like for something to stand out a little bit, so I like the idea of using the green, and I'm kind of a green person, so I'm just going to take the Hooker's green with a little touch of purple, just a little bit, maybe a little bit of that mixture. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a little green stripe there on that arm. And there's a little bit of it showing on this one. Okay, and then there's a little trim that goes around the end of the sleeve there where his arm comes out, and then over on this side too. So you can go ahead and kind of block that in. And then in between there's a dark blue. I'm rinsing my brush out real good because you want your blue to be pretty clean. So take pure, straight ultramarine blue this time. And just paint in the rest of the arm here with that. Now notice it's a transparent color too. So because of that, you're probably going to want to have to add a little bit of gesso to it too. You've got to understand what the gesso does. We can darken it in a minute, but let's go ahead and get add a little gesso in there so it opaques it. Notice they're just broad brush strokes. Don't get too carried away with perfectly organized strokes. That's where most of us make our mistakes. you guys to get the hang of this business of real good, solid painting techniques from an impressionistic point of view. Okay. Now you can darken this. Take a little bit of blue and a little purple, maybe a little burnt sienna. You make a darker value to go underneath here. Be a little darker down in this part. And of course later we're going to highlight all this, so all this will start to shape up and show up a little bit more. His pants